Good morning, friends. We are here this morning with my very old Merry Christmas sign. Boys and girls, look around your classroom right now and see if your teacher has forgotten anything for Christmas or from Christmas, or maybe even Valentine's Day. This is a board that we forgot about, and we moved my desk around this weekend and I just didn't get to it. So Merry Christmas from Top Score to you. I'm so glad you were here this morning. If you'll go ahead and gather your writing supplies and everything you need for today, we're going to get started with a quick review. So inside of our writing folder, remember you have your passages, you have all of the work that we've done on our planning, our introduction paragraph. Remember we have used highlighters. We've shown that each one of our outline is a different paragraph that we're going to write eventually. We have started a little checklist for ourselves. So right here, remember we have the little checklist for our T, 3A and 3B. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can see it better from our document camera. Okay, so remember we can see that we have our little checklist to the side. Remember, I also can do it on a sticky note. I also can do it as I'm writing. I can make a little checklist over here. Do I have my T sentence? This is my 3A. This is my 3B. Remember, we highlighted it last time. And so I am excited today for us to build our middle paragraphs even more. One of the things that most of our rubrics around the United States say that our writing must have is that we have to be able to refer back to the text. That's what makes it a text-based essay. And so we have to give reference or a nod to the author, the place where you found the information that you got when you're forming your middle paragraph. So last week when we wrote, stapled, no, this next page. Last week when we wrote, remember I got all of this information from T1A. So if I come back and I look in my text set, I got all of that information from T1A. Now, I'm going to change this today, but we're going to make a chart first. So what I want you to do is keep all of this right here. You can keep your papers right there, but I want you to get a clean sheet of paper. I'll give you a couple of seconds. It can be lined, it can be unlined, whichever you want. And at the top, we're going to make a chart called evidence-based terminology. So I started one for us. An evidence-based terminology is a way for you to refer back to your sources, the texts where you got the information from. And people use a lot of words, synonyms for the word text. Okay, they use source, passage. You can even dial it down into specific paragraphs. But then when we're writing in our middle paragraphs, we have to use a citation to be able to tell our reader where we got the information from. So we're going to spend the first few minutes this morning writing down some words or phrases that we use to show where we got the information. Okay, and remember, we're going to get the information from the text. That's why this is a text-based essay. So I'm going to go ahead and get my marker. One of the easiest ways for us to refer back to the source would just to be able to say in the text. Okay, but I'm going to put an asterisk beside this. Because I want this to be used only in the case of an emergency, if you can't think of anything else. Because here's the problem. When you use the word text, there could be any of the texts that you've read from. And what most of our state rubrics tell us is that you need to be specific. Okay, so when we use a sentence, so let's show this sentence right here. The lungs breathe in air, which go to which is called bronchi and bronchioles. Okay, that came from this text called the human lungs. So instead of saying in the text, I want to actually refer back to that title. And so I'm going to say in the text, and then I'm going to write that title, the human lungs. My handwriting is so big because I want you guys to be able to see it. So what I'm going to do next is underline the title. You want to be able to show which one is the text. Okay, so this is also a separate part of your sentence. So you're going to put a comma after your evidence-based terminology. Okay, so now we have in the text the human lungs. That's one of my ways that I can cite the source where I got this information from. Okay, remember, I also got the information they carry oxygen to your heart from there. All of these, even in this paragraph, came from the human lungs. Next time I cite my source, I don't want to say the same thing. I want to say something different. I want to say, maybe this time I want to refer to the paragraph. Okay, so let's see right here. Let's find out where. So paragraph 2 was about the oxygenated blood here. The oxygenated blood will travel to the heart. So I'm going to say in paragraph 2, and then I can say again the title of the text. In paragraph 2 of the human lungs, again, it's separate from the rest of my sentence that I would be writing from the information in the paragraph. So I'm going to put a comma behind that. So I can say in the text and have a title. I can say in paragraph 2. Obviously, when I go into the article about the, into point B for T1B, I would not say paragraph 2, would I? What paragraph would I say? That's right, I'd say B. And then or 3. When I am on the next text set for the human brain, I can also say in paragraph 6 and 7 of the human brain. So I can also combine paragraph numbers. But again, remember, this is going back and citing my source. I'm using information from the text to support my writing. That's how I'm building my middle paragraphs. I already found that information for my point A and point B in the text, but now I'm referring back and telling my reader where I got that information from. You can also say according to and now there are several things that you can do after those 2 words. Teachers, I used to give a spelling test with these words so that they would always remember how to spell those key words that always come up. That also gave the students an idea of those words to keep coming back up in their brains. So just a little tidbit for you. So I could say according to, and then I can come right back here and say the human lungs. But boys and girls, sometimes you may have seen a text that underneath of this will look like this. Source 1. Now, I wrote mine, so it did not say that on the text originally. So I would not say that when I was referring to my evidence-based, or when I was writing my evidence-based terminology. But if it says it, you can say according to the human lungs, underline the title. You could say according to source 1, if it says source 1. Let me see if rainforest says that. Rainforest does say it. So if you have your rainforest text set, You can see it says it right here. Okay, occasionally it will also have the author's name. And if you have the author's name, you can certainly write according to the article by, and then leave the author's name. We don't have the author's name for this one. We don't have a source number for this one. So I'm going to just say according to the human lungs. Again, I'm going to underline my title. You're going to put a comma after it. And then, boys and girls, I'm going to show you another way that you can also state the title, okay? Instead of saying text or paragraph, I can say passage. So I can say the passage titled The Human, I don't have enough space, lungs. So I can also put quotation marks around it. Now, I will tell you, boys and girls, that you need to listen to your teacher's specific directions because we're hosting these lessons for anybody all over the country. And so your state might tell you not to use quotation marks yet. That might be more advanced than your teacher wants you. They might want you only using underline. The state rubric might be very specific in referring to citing a source. So I want you to listen to your teacher first and foremost, but I want you to know that both ways can be a way to reference your source when you're citing where you got the information from. Okay, so I can list the title of the text. I can say according to the text. I can give a paragraph number. Instead of saying title or text, I could say passage. So I'm going to show you what that would look like if we rewrite, if we rewrite our first paragraph. So I have a clean sheet of paper, and then I have my essay that I started writing last week. I have this right in front of me. Okay, so you simply need the essay that we wrote last week showing the topic sentence 3A and 3B, and you need a clean sheet of paper. Okay, now I wrote T1 over here, and I wrote today's date, the 28th, and referencing citations and EBT. That's a way to say evidence-based terminology. Okay, you can also, remember I said we were making sure we had a checklist. You can make sure you have a T sentence. And then the next thing that we're going to do is 3A. So you can make a list on the side as well and check it as we go through. Remember, last week I also told you that we color code everything here at Top Score Writing so that we can make sure that we cover all of our bases. It's a way for our brain to recognize that, all right, I'm moving on to the next step. So the next color for 3A that I picked, was blue. So all I'm doing is I'm looking at the part I wrote in blue, and I'm going to add evidence-based terminology into this new page, okay? The first sentence I wrote was, these lungs breathe in air, which go to various branches called bronchi and bronchioles. They carry oxygen to your heart. Your heart sends this fresh oxygen to all the cells in your body. You should have that written down for T1A, your sentences for A. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to say, according to, now I'm going to pick the title, The Human Lungs. And I'm even going to be very specific this time, and I'm going to say paragraph 2. According to the human lungs, I don't have enough room, so I'm going to come down here, paragraph 2. Now, I can write the number with a number 2, or I can write it out and spell the word TWO. Either one is okay. What do I have to do to my title? Do you remember? Now, what I like to do is I like to go underneath. There we go, so you can see it, so that my reader definitely sees that I was able to underline my title. According to the human lungs, paragraph 2, then all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy right here. Now, I'm not going to do this for the whole thing. I'm going to shorten it a little bit because I want us to be able to use evidence-based terminology a few times throughout. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Your teacher might want to have you rewrite the whole paragraph, but just listen to their directions afterwards. According to the human lungs, paragraph 2, these lungs breathe in air. Oh, I ran out of room. Let's go. Various branches. All right, I'm going to stop right there because now it's taking up a lot of my time. Now, all I did was add that part according to. I would continue on. So I'm just going to put some ellipses. Okay, and this is just, I'm going to make a note right here. Continue 3A. Okay, and we're going to pretend that this writing is right here. Okay, but all I really added, let me see where my highlighter is. All I really added was my evidence-based terminology, the way that I'm citing the source that I got this information from, according to the human lungs, paragraph 2. And then I'm going through the whole part about 3A right here. Now, when I move to 3B, remember I said one of the things that most of the state rubrics tell us is that we also have to find a way to move from one topic to the next. I'm using transitional strategies. We can use transition word, a phrase, but we need to make sure that we are connecting our ideas, making sure that everything is flowing from one to the next. So because breathing in is the opposite of breathing out, I chose the word in contrast. So let's write that. I'm going to cheat a little bit like we wrote a paragraph, and I'm going to write it, start here. In contrast. Now, do you remember where I'm getting this from? That's right. I've moved down here to 3B. Remember, my ellipses showed all of this work that I had written up here. My point today is to simply write evidence-based terminology and incorporate that into our paragraphs. Now I'm moving into 3B. So I said, in contrast, breathing out is and you know what? I switched colors, didn't I? Who caught that? Did anybody catch that? I'll go over it with red in a minute. Breathing out is just the opposite. Okay, I can go back and fix this a little bit later so I can make sure that I remember this is my 3A and this is my 3B. So now the next thing I want to tell you about transitional or evidence-based terminology, is that it doesn't always have to go at the beginning of the sentence. You can put it at the end. I'm still going to use some of these same words and phrases. Where did my chart go? I'm still going to use some of these words and phrases. I can cite it with a parenthetical citation at the end and just put the title inside of a paragraph form, parentheses. Gracious. Get myself together today. But I can use any of these at the end of what I am quoting, what I am using from the text. So I am back here with paragraph number 3. Remember, this is for T1B. And my passage, my paragraph says, after the oxygen is used, our blood changes it to carbon dioxide, which travels back through the capillaries and bronchi. Finally, it comes out of our mouths. So I'm going to start that sentence. It's just the opposite. After the oxygen is used, our blood changes it carbon dioxide which travels back through, it's a long sentence, isn't it? The capillaries and bronchi. Now, I did not end my sentence. I need to go ahead and put my text-based or my evidence-based terminology. So instead of putting a period there, which that's the end of my sentence right here, I am going to put a comma, and then I'm going to say says paragraph 2, or it says in paragraph 2. Sometimes I want to reread my sentence to see which one sounds the best, or maybe I want to change up my words a little bit. After the oxygen is used, our blood changes it back to CO2, which travels back through the capillaries and bronchi. Says paragraph. Now remember, I got this information for T1B in paragraph 3. So this is where I'm getting, your paragraphs are almost always numbered. And so I'm going to use that number. It says paragraph 3 of, and now I'm going to write the title. Now, what do I do with my title? That's right. So remember, I said I like to make it nice and dark. I don't need to spend a long time with drawing, but I do want to make it stand out. Now, from there, I would keep going. I have another sentence at the end of that, but then after I finished that paragraph, I would move on to the next paragraph. If I come back to my colors, remember last week we started and did T2 T sentence and the first point A. So I'm going to just write second. The brain performs every action of your body. Now I have copied my T sentence and now I'm moving into my 3A. Okay, just like I have my checklist here, this is my 3B. And then this starts, if this was T1, this starts what? That's right, T2. And here's my T sentence. And now I'm going to go for 3A. Remember, in each of my A and B paragraphs, I want to make sure that I am using evidence-based terminology. Now, I already used according to the human lungs. And look at me, I already forgot my highlighter. And I used says paragraph 3 of the human lungs. What do you think I'm going to tell you next about using evidence-based terminology in my next paragraph? That's right. We have several choices. And boys and girls, you guys can spend, the next 20 minutes or whenever your teacher has some free time, you guys can do this in another lesson. There are hundreds of other ways that you can cite your source. And so you guys can add more to this chart. This is not the only ways that we can cite a source, but these are some of the easiest and most widely used in 4th and 5th grades. And so you want to be able to interchange them in and among your paragraphs. You don't want to say, according to the text, according to the text, according to the human brain, according to the human lungs, according to the human brain, according to the human lungs. You don't want to say that repeatedly. That sounds redundant, which means you're saying it again and again and again. And that is not what our state rubric says. Our state rubric says that they want to hear a difference among your sentences. They want to have some short sentences, some long sentences. And we're going to see that as we keep going through these lessons. So today we're going to choose 3 different ones. And my third one is going to be right now. So I've started my T2. My next sentence, remember, I'm going right back to what we wrote last week. The cerebrum is the thinking part and is the biggest. So right here I said according to, I started with my evidence-based terminology at the beginning of my sentence. And here I referenced the paragraph number and the title. I did at the end. This time I'm going to look at my chart and I'm going to pick the paragraph number and the title. So I'm going to say remember we jumped paragraphs, so it's no longer paragraph 3. In paragraph, who found my mistake? I just found it right here. This should not be paragraph 3, it should be paragraph 2. I was jumping ahead of myself. Now I'm in paragraph 3. In paragraph 3 of the human. Oh my goodness, no. Boys and girls, Miss Kreitzer, she's losing her mind today. Your teacher ever done this? I think it's the Christmas sign. What do you think? It was paragraph 3 of the human lungs. Which article am I getting this information from? See how your teachers are human just like you? We make mistakes all the time. I hope somebody caught that. In paragraph, let's switch to the human brain. So it's not even paragraph 3. Oh my goodness, you guys, help me out. In paragraph 6 of the human brain. Gracious day. Now I'm going to show you another way. Instead of saying it says, you can say I know or I learned. So let's come back to our chart really quick, our evidence-based terminology chart. And you can say in paragraph 2 of the human lungs, I'm going to add it right here. I learned. You can also write it says, it said. In paragraph 2 of the human lungs, I learned. It says, I know. Okay, there's lots of things that you can say. Again, remember, we're going to change it up. It's not always going to be the same. In paragraph 6 of the human brain, and then I would just continue on. I'm going to write the cerebrum is the see, I already forgot it. I learned the cerebrum is the largest. And this is where, because of time, I'm just going to put my ellipsis, and that would finish my 3A. Okay, now we are out of time, and so I'm going to give you your assignment. Your assignment today is to do this same thing, adding your evidence-based terminology before or after your information, to highlight it, to make sure that you can see where you've added it to. You don't need to, unless your teacher says, you don't need to rewrite the entire paragraph. My point, our point today, is that when you're writing your 3A and 3B, you need to refer back to the sources where you got the information from. These are called your citations. And when you are writing a text-based essay, you have to refer back to the source. Okay, you have to give credit to the author, the person who wrote it. Okay, so look at your chart one last time. Remember that evidence-based terminology is reference to your source, We're using citations. They're words or phrases that we use to show we got the information from the text. This is really important. I'm going to just highlight it, okay? I just want to thank you guys for putting up with me today. My Christmas theme, I guess, has thrown me all off and I stumbled over some words, but I am sure that you guys did a great job and I can't wait to see you next week. Thank you so much. Have a great day.